Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this latest podcast about research methods. And this week, we're going to talk about how you might develop the ideas or the topics for your dissertation. What we'll do is we'll also talk about what we're going to do in the class on Monday and the way in which we're going to try and get everyone to discuss their projects. So, firstly, as we discussed last week, there are some basic and fundamental questions that you need to think about when developing the ideas for your dissertation or any research project. And they relate to the research population, so who do you want to talk to and why, what the key idea is, what the key topic is that is driving the investigation. So is it a policy issue, is it a societal issue, is it an economic issue, or is it sort of something a bit more environmental? When are you going to do your dissertation? So at what point will you do any field work if you have to? How are you going to go about organising this and the logistics? Where? So what location? Is it a singular location or is it a set of multiple locations? Are they going to be local to Manchester? Will they be local to where you're from at home? Will they be international? So all things you have to think about. The why question, so why is your research important? What sort of ideas you're going to be testing? Are you doing something that's a bit more empirically based or something a bit more conceptual? And finally, how are you going to go about doing this? And this is something that I think a lot of people worry a lot about because they've done something of this magnitude before. And what we'll do in the session on Monday is to go through and hopefully start to explain some of these ideas and so that you don't have as many fears about them. But I think as a general principle, there are three main things that you might want to think about. Firstly is location, so the where. Secondly is the theme or the issue, so the what. And the third one is the people or the participants, so the who. And I think with most research projects, these three things can help you to structure your initial conversations and discussions and research to find out what's happening, and provides you with a set of hooks to work from. So if you're interested in a particular location, and it might be your hometown or your home country, then that might be the place to start. If there's a particular theme within planning, urban design, real estate or environmental management that you're interested in, that might be where you start. Or if it's a group of people, be it local stakeholders, communities or politicians or policymakers or developers, you might wish to start there. But invariably, all projects will engage all three of these different areas because you might be looking at why certain people, such as, say, decision makers in local authorities, are tackling housing or climate change in a particular location, so be it Manchester. And that would give you these three ideas here. And with these, you can actually then start to unpack and to go into more detail about how certain issues, be it transport, economic development, community empowerment, might happen in a certain location. And it will then help you to identify which participants might be involved. And just to give you an example of this, I'll use my undergraduate dissertation. So location was South America, it was Chile. I was interested in going there. This is not how to do a dissertation, but I picked the location and then worked backwards from there. So I wanted to do it on American trypanosomiasis, something at the bottom, which was a vector-borne disease which affected low-quality housing and poor health. So I was interested in land use and livelihoods and health geography. And after finding the location, I found a health issue which could be investigated. I then designed a set of questionnaires and interview questions that could be asked to local people and to local stakeholders. And then I went to Chile, speaking no Spanish or they basic Spanish, and managed to talk to some local people, some business owners and some local health professionals who then did interviews for me based on a pre-translated sort of interview schedule. And I came back and I wrote that up. But the way that project was developed was that the location was the key factor, and then I found the theme or the issue that I was interested in, and then I found the stakeholders to work with. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily the right or the most effective way to go about something, and I would suggest that looking at the theme or the issue and then the stakeholders or the participants first, and then try and find the location which is suitable is maybe more practical. Except maybe in situations where the issue or the stakeholders and the place are intrinsically linked together. Now, in terms of some of the other questions that we talked about last Monday, in terms of did this project fit with my degree? Like, yes, I did a BSc in Geography and Environmental Management. So this link between land use, societal change and environmental health and was that they were aligned with there. The topic did hold my interest. I did my field work the summer before, so I wrote this project for about 12 to 15 months, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed developing these ideas further. Was it useful for me in terms of employment? No, not at all, because I don't do health geography now, except a little bit, but it did provide me with some of the skills in terms of research, in terms of planning and logistics to go and do something, which have been helpful in projects further on. Was it topical or contemporary? It was in South America, it was in part of the health geography literature, but not that much to the broader environmental management degree, which is what I was more aligned with the sustainability ideas. So it was useful, but it didn't necessarily add that much to what I was already doing. And was there a disciplinary gap? Yes, because not many people had actually looked at this particular disease vector in that location. When I was doing this project, we had to go to the library to get books out, and I had to spend a lot of time in the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine library trying to find research on American trypanosomiasis. And there was a distinct lack of work being focused on certain parts of South America, which Chile was one of them, because it was still a very sort of nuanced location and place that you could do these things. So I built the project around the location, but then looked at the written and the academic work to try and build up on top of that. And I think it was a very useful process in terms of learning the research process rather than adding to my employability or to adding to the research canon. So if you think about location, the people and the topic, that should hopefully give you a way of trying to structure what you're doing. And in terms of what we're going to do, on Monday we're going to do a bit of a show and tell. So a bit of a carousel system where everybody will have about 3 minutes to outline the points of the topic, the key issues to be investigated, the reasons why they think it's important, because it has to have some value to society normally, unless it's something more conceptual. We can go through that, who the participants might be, and what issues are going to be studied. So there's a set number of things there. There's 5 things there. You might only cover 3 of them, but it needs to be quick and it needs to be concise. And that's the main thing about this, is that if you can explain to somebody very, very quickly what you're doing, it normally means that the project has a very clear structure and line of argument. If it takes 10 or 15 minutes to explain it, then maybe there are too many components or too many elements to it. But whilst each of you will do this individually, I think everybody else who's going to be in your little groups, you'll be in clusters of 4 or 5, should make notes and sort of one positive thing or one interesting thing and one area where they think there might be areas of enhancement. So it's going to be a system where everybody gets to comment on each of the proposals. And just remember that no proposal is wrong, no ideas are wrong, but there probably is scope for improvement or diversification or modification of all of them, because you're just starting out. But if you think around these, what's the topic, why you're doing it, what you're looking to investigate, and who you're going to talk to, and then think about those 3 things before: location, participants, and theme, then we should all be able to sort of come prepared to talk about these things. So if you all come prepared with this 3 minutes for Monday, we will do, Marcy and I will do a bit of an introduction, and then we'll go through this and have you all presenting to each other. We will then sort of come around and talk to you all, and if there are any key issues that arise from listening to you, we'll then have a wider class discussion. So I hope you found this useful, and we'll see you all next week. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or Lazio. See you soon.